Good afternoon. Well, let's go ahead and begin. My name is George Watts. I'm the chairman of Top Line Talent, and we're here to discuss the secrets of motivating your sales force. I have with me Dr. Sam Pitroda. I've known Dr. Pitroda for some time now, and I've always admired his selling ability. He's done some outstanding sales in life, and I wanted just to start out by asking Dr. Pitroda, you've sold so many things in life. You've sold product, you've sold service, you've sold ideas. What's been the biggest sale you've ever done in life, and how did you have the emotional resilience and the self-confidence to keep at it until you got the deal closed?
Thank you, George. Greetings, everyone. It is indeed a privilege to be here with George. Like George said, he has been a close friend for many years in Chicago. He and I met perhaps a couple of decades ago at a program he was hosting for the National Public Radio, where we had a long discussion for an hour on leadership. And he emphasized and understood the psychology of leadership. We talked about Gandhi, we talked about many critical issues, and I was very impressed with his understanding of the mind, how people think, their mindset, their attitude, their approach. And when George started applying this to a program on sales, and then George connected with CII, and as a result, we have this program sort of being launched in India. And going back to your question, George, yes, I have had an opportunity to do a little bit of sales in my life, especially in young days. But I would say the biggest sale I ever had in my life was that of selling an idea about the role telecom could play in nation building to Mrs. Indira Gandhi, then Prime Minister of India, in 1980. I had this vision that IT and telecom would change the face of India way in 79, 80. And fortunately, I got through somebody to meet Mrs. Gandhi. I had 1 hour to make that sale. She had her entire cabinet with her. And I had to collect all my emotional, psychological attitude and behavior to really go off and put my best foot forward in that short period of time to sell that idea. And when I look at your training program, I see in this program lots and lots of interesting ways of handling sales. At the end of the day, sales is the beginning of any business cycle. If you don't have sales, you have no business. But if you have sales, then things begin to happen. So how do you really sell? What do you sell? Who do you sell to? How do you sell it? What to say, when to say, how much to say is a piece of art. And that's what you are talking about in your sales training course. And that excited me and interested me about your program. And that's the reason I told George that maybe you got to look at India and see if people in India could benefit from your understanding of the mind. Because you are basically going inside the mind of your customer. What do they want? Why do they want it? And who is the real decision maker? And how do you approach that person to close the deal? At the end of the day, you got to close a deal. So my biggest sale was really selling it to Mrs. Gandhi. The idea, the concept, the vision. And it worked. Now 35 years down the road, we have billion cell phones. Then India had 2 million telephones. Then India didn't get any software export business. Today we do almost $140 billion worth of software export every year after year. So those were the seeds planted almost 35 years ago. But these things take time because it's part of a nation building process. Today, India is a nation of connected billion. Our next big challenge is to see how we use this connectivity going forward in building economy that grows at 8 to 10% a year, because we do have some fundamental challenges in India related to disparity, development, and demography. We have 600 million people below age of 25. So how do we create future for them? It is a challenge in terms of providing education, skill, employment. And that's where I think sales training becomes very critical.
Certainly, if India is going to grow 8 to 10% a year, sales have to increase, just by definition. I wanted to go ahead and get into a little bit of top-line talent. I want to thank Dr. Pitroda for sharing that, and I want to make sure I thank CII for hosting this event. They're terrific business partners. A big shout out to CII. Let's look at top-line talent. Let's look at the critical goals that top-line talent lays out for you. Number one is gaining confidence. Dr. Pitroda just said it took him a year to get the appointment. You have to have emotional resilience. And what is that emotional resilience connected to? It's connected to self-confidence. So the first module in top-line talent is all about understanding your natural core strengths so you can learn to leverage those strengths in the selling dynamic. Confidence. That is the most important thing that a salesperson can have in order to handle the emotional resilience that you're going to have. We believe that confidence is gained best through understanding your natural core strengths. It's interesting, we were in Delhi and Mumbai the third quarter of last year, and we plan to come back in the second quarter of this year. And we talked to so many top CEOs, top executives, and they said one of the things that we want to do better is get off of price. In other words, how do we offer our clients something more than just a better price? People are too price sensitive. And that's the same thing that we have found out in America, that there's going to be two kinds of companies. One that are commoditized, the second are strategic partners. So the module 2 of top-line talent is all about how you can become a strategic partner to your client and never a commodity. You become a strategic partner by offering a value beyond what is just on paper, that you connect with your client in a way that he or she turns to you as a trusted business advisor. The last thing we want to do with top-line talent is collapse time. Are you better than you were 10 years ago? Of course you are. But does it take 10 years of growth in order to develop yourself to that extent? No, it really doesn't. What we have found out with top-line talent, we can collapse time. You're going to mature and grow and develop over the next 3 to 4 months if you take top-line talent than you would have naturally grown over the next 10 years. How does it work? We have it's a 4-month program, 28 lessons through multiple modalities. What we have found out is people learn best over a 3 to 4 month period. We've looked at the brain science of how people acquire new skills. And they don't acquire it through a 1 or 2 day seminar. They acquire it over 3 to 4 months, about 2 hours a week, with practice in between. If you're going to burn new neural pathways, which is essentially what learning is, and what Dr. Pitroda talked about, you have to have the diligence and the commitment
to study for about 3 to 4 months. So top-line talent is laid out, one module per month for 3 months. And that's the way you're truly going to grow, you're truly going to change, and you're truly going to transform your behavior. Let's look at, very quickly, Module 1. What do we have in Module 1? Personality types gaining confidence through understanding your natural core strength. Module 2 is all about how to establish emotional resonance, how to develop trust, and advanced listening skills. One of the things I guarantee Dr. Pitroda did was listen to your Prime Minister very carefully and understand her goals, her vision, and where she wanted to take India. Listening skills are so vitally important because without listening, you cannot add strategic value. Finally, habits and practices of the top 7%. A lot of salespeople need better discipline, organization, better processes, and Module 3 is all about that. Module 4, that's just for sales leaders. We want you to become great coaches. We believe that great sales leaders are great coaches, and Module 4 is all about how you can develop your coaching ability using the top-line talent principles. Additionally, we have customized seminars. We're going to speak to a couple of folks that are using top-line talent now. We will customize a seminar and customize a webinar just for you so you'll totally understand how to get the most out of top-line talent. How does top-line talent work most effectively? Through leadership. We're going to have somebody from TVS on, and TVS Logistics is doing an outstanding job with top-line talent, and it's because of manager involvement. The manager has to take the course right alongside the salespeople, right along in the trenches with them. We have found that the best way to do it is to have the sales team meet once a week, either by phone or in person, and to go through the program at once. There has to be discipline and organization and accountability. Why don't we, I will say this, we can visit your website at toplinetalent.com. We have a 14-minute test drive that explains the entire process of top-line talent. If you want to find out more, visit us at toplinetalent.com, look at the 14-minute test drive, or you can certainly email us, and we're happy to develop any kind of relationship that you would like to have. Can we move on now, and we can think about bringing in Mr. Rajan from, he's the general manager of sales and marketing at TVS Dynamic. And Mr. Rajan has done an outstanding job of working top-line talent through his salespeople. TVS Dynamic Freight Services, in case you don't know, is one of the top logistics and supply chain management companies in the world. Mr. Rajan graduated from Delhi University with a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science. So if Mr. Rajan, if he's around, could we have him typed in?
Yep. Good evening to Mr. George
There he is
and
there.
Sam Pitroda.
No?
I'm Rajan, head BD in TVS Dynamic for last 6 years. TVS Dynamic is the freight forwarding arm of TVS Logistics. TVS Logistics is about 4,000 crore company with own facilities in freight forwarding, warehousing, distribution, value-added services across the globe. We have our own presence in USA, Europe, Asia, China, Australia, and we are headquartered in India. We have established our sales teams on a pan-India basis who are stabilized and well established. At TVS, I think we look at constant development and improving skills of our people. We wanted to improve our sales and BD team's capability to add strategic customers, which is the goal of top-line management. We believe in adding value to the customers and their business. So in this context, we read about the program by George Watts and endorsed by Mr. Sam Pitroda. Top-line talent we found was not the regular sales program, but is the program that goes deeper understanding of customers and owns own self. We initially rolled this out to our top 25 salespeople simultaneously in India who were logging in at a standard time which was allotted to them. Since we are all located in different offices across India, the online version worked very well for us. We have found in the last couple of months the confidence level in our sales guys have increased tremendously. They have understood their strength and working on their bringing focus, understanding customers and their personal strengths. We are looking forward to expanding this program further, and the teaching has been very simple, totally aligned to our industry and our line of business. So we are very happy and we are feeling the results slowly and steadily after participating in this top line management. And George has been really making conference calls and showing us the right direction, how to approach this and giving us clarification on this. And we are really glad that we are associated with George and top line management. Back to Chicago, sir.
An outstanding job of implementing top-line talent, and I'm going to have the pleasure of addressing your entire company on the 18th to kick off your sales meeting. So I do appreciate that. Is Mr. Arun Singh on? I want to talk about Arun. He's a special friend of mine and a friend of Dr. Pitroda's. Arun Singh is a very senior managing director and a global lead for the world's largest consulting firm and the premier firm for IT strategy and consulting. His team is responsible for providing mission-critical cybersecurity services to clients worldwide. He is a global thought leader, a sought-after speaker. He holds a Master of Technology from the Indian Institute of Technology. And Arun recently completed Top-Line Talent. And Arun, thank you so very much for joining us today. What was your experience with Top-Line Talent?
So first of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Watts for inviting me for this session. It's my pleasure to share my experiences of taking this course. In fact, I completed TLT course recently, and at overall level, I found this course very transformative, which had immense positive impact on my personal as well as professional life. In fact, I was deeply impressed by Dr. Watts' extensive experience and background working with top leaders across the globe, and every coaching session which I had with him that invoked tremendous thinking in my mind to look at the world differently around me. When I reflect back on TLT, some of the key points that comes to my mind are like I was able to understand the natural strength of my intrinsic capabilities very clearly, and also how I can apply my core strength to establish the relationships with my clients and impact success in my business. I realized that before taking this course, I was operating with an Indian mindset, where I was culturally taught to go for personal success or achievement. And through this course, I learned how to leverage Western values, which is more focused on collaborative achievement. So I was able to clearly understand the East and West leadership values and then how to leverage it for a greater success in my professional career. During the course, I also built an understanding of different personality types, how different personalities they process information, and some of the key things which I really liked were related to active listening, emotional resiliency, and how to ask strategic questions which can be really the game changer. So at the overall level, this course certainly helped me in building better relationship with my clients, and I could see a significant improvement in my business result. So, I can clearly say that TLT helped me change my mindset, and I moved from individual mindset to a very collaborative mindset. So that's what I'd like to say, Dr. Watts.
Arun, thank you so very much for that insightful commentary. And it is true that developing a more global mindset is necessary in today's economy. Sam, you are the best I've ever seen in terms of seeing things from multiple cultural perspective, multiple personality perspective. How did you develop your global sales skills? Because you're all over the world selling ideas.
I learned, perhaps without recognizing a lot of the techniques, that building good self is the beginning of a success in whatever you are doing. So you got to have inner strength. You got to understand yourself. You got to be comfortable with yourself. You got to respect yourself. And unless and until you really begin to build strong self, you cannot project confidence. And once you project confidence, your customer begins to feel comfortable that this person will address my challenge. This person will help me in solving my problem. And I think that discipline is very important. Along with discipline, I also believe you need a little bit of analytical ability, creativity, respect for the other person. You also need to project ethical self, that you are not in this only for yourself, but you are also in this for the customer, for the larger picture. And all of these things really help in closing a sales.
Having that global mindset based upon self-confidence, that really is module 1 with Top Line Talent. It's all about understanding your core natural strength and your confidence. The secret of confidence is to understand your core natural strength and to leverage that strength. We believe in overcoming weaknesses, but only to the extent that your weaknesses don't affect your career. It's leveraging your natural strengths is the big secret in life.
You know, George, I find that a lot of people wind up selling things you don't have. A lot of people wind up giving promises which you cannot deliver to close a sales. And there you are really not being honest to yourself, to your company, to your customer. So I think it's important to really understand what you are selling, why you are selling. Like I said earlier, how you are selling, to whom you are selling. So I think a lot of these issues are so very fundamental, but at times we lose sight of it.
What strikes me, Dr. Pitroda, about you is your authenticity. And authenticity is based upon self-confidence. The more self-confident you are, the more your authentic, genuine self comes through. And it turns out that when people are authentic with each other, their minds literally sync up from a neurological perspective.
And trust develops. I think trust is very important.
And that's, trust is based on authenticity.
Yep.
Dr. Pitroda,
Yep.
it truly is.
Yes.
And that's what strikes me about you, and I think one of the reasons you've been so successful is you present your authentic self every day. And that's an area where Arun mentioned, and I've certainly tried to grow in my life, is to be authentic, is to be genuine. And people will lower their defense barriers, and then that's when the trust truly begins.
I think Mr. Rajan and Arun both did an excellent job in sort of giving their view as to how Top Line Talent works for them. Their understanding of it, their approach to sort of presenting it, really tells a lot about what they got out of it. And how, like Arun said, it changed his mind, his way of looking at things. his focus on collaboration. And all of these are very important issues.
They most certainly are, and I do want to thank our two testimonials today. They're just outstanding. Why don't we open it up for some questions? I know we've got 400 companies that wanted to join us today, so I'm sure there's some questions, and we'd be happy to take a few. We can talk, the questions will be coming in. This is best for business to business selling. This top-line talent is for companies that want to develop strategic partnerships with their clients and customers. Top-line talent is for companies that want long-term relationships based upon trust and based upon developing synergy and to offer strategic value to your company. So top-line talent is not an introductory a lesson for sales. Top-line talent is for serious salespeople or serious revenue generators, professionals, who want to expand business in their ecosystem, and they want to begin to think more globally, and they want to connect with their customers more deeply and hold deeper discussions. That's what top-line talent is for and all about.
Why don't you talk about the customization, to individual customization?
Some people have said, well, how do you customize it? The participant actually customizes his or her own experience. So in other words, top-line talent is as individual as you are. So everyone customizes the experience to his or her needs. We do, as I mentioned, we do customized webinars. If your company is interested in putting teams through top-line talent because you'd like to expand sales and grow your top line, we can design a customized webinar, or we plan to return to the beautiful country of India in the second quarter of 2016, and perhaps we can work out some kind of personal interaction as well. Do we have any questions coming in?
What's a CV selling team?
How about a price? Do you want to talk about price? It's $350.
We've got, the question was, what price? We've formed a partnership with CII to greatly reduce the price. Dr. Pitroda is the one that introduced us into CII, and he said, give them a good price. And so we certainly have, it's only $350 US per participant, which is less than half the course cost being offered in other parts of the world. So we do have a very special price for CII members and for CII participants.
I believe there is a question here from Ramesh Rao Bartluri about how effective it would be to commercial vehicle selling team at TVS. I think Rajan said very clearly that this course is helping all of their salespeople, whether it is commercial vehicle or other products of the TVS, and they plan to expand this program further. So I believe Mr. Rajan would be better to answer this specific question, but I think in a sense he has already answered this. There is another question from Renu Zakaria, and she's asking more about how long the program takes. Maybe George can answer that.
It takes 3 to 4 months of about 2 hours a week. And this is not by accident. We have found out through neurological studies how people learn best. And they learn best in short 20-minute dynamic increments spread out over 3 to 4 months. So top-line talent, think of it as a 3 to 4 month graduate course for selling professionals. It'll take you about 90 days, about 2 hours a week. But the 2 hours a week is spent on your own time, and it's very easy to get that to get through 2 hours a week.
So George, you basically have 4 modules.
Correct.
And each module has anywhere from what,
8 to 10 lessons,
8 to 10 lessons, and each lesson takes about half an hour.
about a half an hour, 20 to 30 minutes.
Right. So that's the way to really look at, you know,
Talk about multiple modalities.
Yeah.
It's based upon multiple modalities. In other words, we find that people learn best when they hear it, when they see it, and then they get connected to the material by thinking about it. So it's an audiobook, it's an ebook, it's an online journal complete with 28 videos, all tied together seamlessly. So with multiple modalities, you're going to burn new neural pathways quicker and deeper. In other words, you're truly going to transform your behavior and you're truly going to learn the material. Because we've shown that in short-term, let's say one-day seminars, people forget 90% of the information in the first 2 weeks. So with that kind of retention level, you truly can't change behavior. So Top-Line Talent was created from a neurological perspective, a brain science perspective. We are interested in you truly changing. And it takes 3 to 4 months to change behavior.
Rajiv Talwar has a question, who is Chief Operating Officer of Bull Machines India. What motivates most to construction equipment sales team?
It's a good question. I think construction equipment, I think it's going to come down to trust. Can you trust the team to deliver on what you promised? And it also comes down to understanding what the client wants. Not what they say they want, but what they really want. And so that is so important, I think, for construction, is the concept of trust and the concept of asking strategic questions so that the customer is able to expand on their thinking. Dr. Pitroda mentioned this. Asking great strategic questions is the key to developing great trust and creativity in the sales dynamic.
I think next two questions are very interesting and important. One from Bhanu Prakash Dixit. The question is, what is the prerequisite for this program?
This is not an introductory sales program. We think your salespeople should at least have a year of experience out in the real world before Top-Line Talent is right for them. So this is not an intro course. This is to take your entire sales team to the next level.
And the next question related to same is from Krishnaswamy Padmanabhan. When is the registration open? And when do you start the course?
That's the advantage of Top-Line Talent. You can start at any time. So the companies that sign up for Top-Line Talent, we can start individual or sales teams at any time, at any place. And again, I would say go to Top-Line Talent and watch a website and watch the 14-minute test drive, because that's going to explain everything. Or you can certainly email us at info@toplinetalent.com if you have an individual question. But the answer is you can start at any time you want. That's the advantage of Top-Line Talent.
Next question is from Poonam, and the question relates more to individual training needs. So the question is whether this training can be given to individual or it needs a group.
The answer is you can take it on an individual basis. Does it work better in a team group? Yes, it's nice to have an entire team going through, so you can talk to the team about the concepts, you can talk to your sales manager about what you're learning. But certainly we've had a number of individuals that have gone through it. Arun, that spoke earlier, went through it all by himself. It takes discipline, because it's about 30 hours worth of training spread over 3 months. Some people are not disciplined enough, but if you're disciplined, you can certainly take it on an individual basis, and certainly it's most effective when an entire team goes through it. That's when magic happens. That's when a team's culture begins to change. That's when you become a true sales-driven company, is when the entire team goes through it.
Mr. Krishnaswamy Padmanabhan has another question. at what level the course will be more helpful, field level or for the management team?
The manager needs to go through the program with the field. This is primarily for the sales team. But what we have found out is when the sales manager goes through it, him or herself along with the team, the manager then understands what the salespeople are learning and can speak with them more profoundly and more deeply. So it's really for both. Is it directed towards the sales team? Of course. But we also have a whole module for the sales leader as the coach. And so we encourage the sales manager to go through it with his or her sales team.
Now, Guru Prasad has a very practical question. Can we expect 25 to 30% increase in our company business from our team after they attend this program?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say yes, okay? Just from the feedback we have gotten and from the test sample that we ran through Top Line Talent in order to make sure that the program worked well and efficiently, people experience around 20 to 30% increase after about 90 days once they completed the course. So the answer is yes, you're going to sell more. And we feel when you customize it, you look for 3 clients. And if you can close one of those deals over the course of the program, you've more than paid for the program and you've solidified a new client. So let's find out together. I think you can grow 25, 30% after you complete Top Line Talent.
There's a question coming from Sivaram Subramaniam. What motivates the sales team in a product startup? In other words, in a startup company or the new product that you're going to develop and sell, what motivates the sales team to sell it? Besides the fact that it's a new idea, it provides some benefit.
Well, you've done more startups, Sam, than I have. But I think what motivates a sales team in a product startup is the opportunity to do something new in the marketplace.
An opportunity to solve a problem that has not been solved before.
Not been solved before. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
To be first in a marketplace, to be first in a startup. You have the natural excitement of being first. You have the natural excitement of solving a problem that's never been solved before. And so you have to have a spirit of entrepreneurialism. And something about startups, I can tell you, you have to have emotional resilience because you're going to be turned down a lot because you are coming into the market fresh. And so one of the things that we have found most helpful with Top Line Talent is increasing emotional resilience because that's what it takes to complete and to compete in a startup.
And I think the whole understanding of emotions as part of a sales cycle itself is a very important issue. How do you understand the role a lot of other things play in a sales cycle as opposed to product and cost and price and quality and all that?
Sure. Sure. We have time for what, 1 or 2 more questions?
Some more stuff.
If there are any more questions, are there any more questions out there? We're happy to take another 1 or 2 before we wrap up.
Quizzes.
I would just ask about the quizzes. In other words, how do people stay on track and how do you know if people are learning? There's quizzes embedded in Top Line Talent that you have to pass and have to understand before you can go to the next module. So, but if you've done the course properly, you'll not have any problems with the quizzes. But the quizzes do affirm that you have learned the material. So there is some quizzes throughout each module.
I have learned, George, that today, because of internet, web, it is important to recognize that there are 3 key things you need for learning. One is motivation. You got to be motivated to learn. If you're not motivated to learn, nobody can help you.
Right.
Second is time. You got to find time. You got to devote time. You got to focus on learning for a period of time. And third is content. I think Top Line Talent provides a great content for sales training, for learning sales cycle. But if you are not motivated and if you are not willing to devote time, it doesn't help much.
Right.
Let's take another question from Manoj Kumar. There is a question. Which is the most critical phase of sales cycle?
I think each phase is critical, obviously. I think you have to establish rapport and you have to establish resonance when you first meet a client. So defense barriers are dropped and trust starts. Because without that, it doesn't make any difference. But I think the most important phase, and Dr. Pitroda, I'd certainly like to hear your thoughts on this, is the asking of strategic questions, the need determination phase, the asking of questions so that you elicit the client's deepest thoughts and you get the client to dream with you, you get the client to open up with you. So I think phase two, the asking of the questions are the most important thing, because if you ask the right questions, you're going to close the deal naturally and you're going to close the deal with a lot of comfort. What do you think, Dr. Pitroda?
I think, to me, the most critical phase of sales cycle is all about at the end when you are closing the deal. You know, you got to build it up to a
Right.
point somebody ultimately is going to sign the order. You know, and anything could happen in between because there are so many people involved. You know,
Yeah.
in any company, to make a strategic sales is all about collaboration. You know, you have finance department, legal department, contract people, quality control people, you know, all kinds of people are involved in it, okay? But ultimately, somebody has to close the deal. Otherwise, things go on and on and on. You know, sometimes sales cycles take 8 months, 3 months, 2 months,
A year.
even a year.
Sure.
Okay. So the real critical phase is close the deal. Who's going to make a commitment? What does it take to make that commitment? Why aren't they making that commitment? When do they sign this order? Is it money? Is it language in the contract? Is it the fact that they don't need it right now? Will they wait for another 6 months? Are they evaluating another competitor? So I think the most critical phase of sales cycle to me is really at the end to close it.
You're a closer. Well, there's no question, Dr. Pitroda, you've closed a lot of deals, and you're one of the best closers I've ever met. And so, yeah, look at Dr. Pitroda for closing, look at me for strategic questions. How's that? Do we have...
I think that we can wrap.
Okay, we are going to wrap things up. I want to thank our special guests, TVS and Arun Singh. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to thank CII. They are tremendous business partners. I wish we had CII in America. I think we'd run things a lot better if we had CII. Hats off to CII this morning. We appreciate it. And thank you, everyone who signed up for this webinar. We appreciate it. We would love to work with you. We love India. It's a great country. You're going to grow at 7, 8, 9%. You're going to need top-line talent. You're going to need to sell. With that, I want to thank Dr. Pitroda, as always, for joining me. I want to thank everybody so much. We'll
Thank
see you
you,
in
George.
India. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.